My name is SYAFINA, and I'm going to start off this presentation with the first chapter, which is Chapter 2, Perception, Self, and Communication. So, perception is the ability to recognize or how we view our surroundings. To discuss in further about the concept of perception, we have made a correlation of the concept with the movie of our choice, which is 127 Hours. The concept that we are going to discuss today are errors in perceptions and also differences in perceptions.
The movie 127 Hours has so many comments since they are related to concepts in Chapter 2, titled Perception, Self, and Communication. First impression is said to be one of the errors that we make in our perceptions. We tend to form the first impression based on other people's appearance, and it may occur in as little as 3 seconds. Our first impressions are powerful, in which they lead to errors in our assessment of others. People make an impression of you within the first few seconds of meeting you and will quickly evaluate your verbal and non-verbal cues to decide whether or not you are a likable person. And once formed, first impressions can be quite hard to change. First impressions may be affected by specific situations or circumstances that the other person is experiencing, which can make our initial assessment inaccurate. From the movie, Megan and Christy got lost while hiking in Utah's Canyonlands National Park and met Aaron Roston, who was also trekking at the time. They couldn't ask for help from a stranger they had only met for a few minutes because it was their first time meeting Aaron Roston. Aaron Roston appeared to be a trustworthy person who knew his way around the area, but he might also be a nasty guy. Megan and Christy were hesitant to accept his help in the first place. Following a stranger in a quiet area where there are only a few people there might be very dangerous to them. However, they agreed to follow Aaron Roston to his favorite site, the Crystal Blue Lake, after being convinced by him.
Aaron.
Christy, allow me to introduce you to my friend Megan. Nice to meet you.
It's an honor. What do you say? You're lost? I'm a guide? Good.
Aaron Roston turned out to be a nice guy who showed them the route using the map. Before they parted ways, Megan and Christy invited him to a party.
All you gotta remember is that everything will be okay.
Oh my god! Aaron! Are you okay? Aaron!
I have also faced a real experience when I made a mistake and formed a negative first impression towards someone. It happened last year when I was transferred to a new class where I knew no one in matriculation. Everyone approached me except for this one person. It bothered me so much why he seemed uninterested in being friends with me. I had always tried to initiate conversation with him, however he kept avoiding me most of the time. My initial reaction to him was that he doesn't want to be friends with me because I was a rookie or that he was a sexist. However, we became closer after just a few months and we partnered up for most of our assignments. When I asked him why he seemed to hate me before, because we barely talked to each other. He then explained that he was hesitant to approach me because my classmates often surrounded me before. And today, despite the fact that we are at different universities, he has been my best friend for almost 2 years, and we talk about our daily lives from time to time. He is the person that I will look up to whenever I face any difficulties in life.
So the next concept that we're going to look into is differences in perceptions. The differences here are referring to the factor that influence a person's perception towards another individuals or things. So those factors could really determine a person's perception from time to time. And the perception can be determined based on a person's physical characteristic, physiological and emotional state, cultural background, and also their self-belief and attitude. Aaron's perception was heavily affected due to his physiological and emotional state of being. This is because, in order to survive in the canyon, Aaron did a lot of drastic and desperate measures such as drinking his own pee, amputating his arm, and many more. He perceived those things as the measures that he need to take in order to make it out alive in the canyon. Furthermore, it is believed that perception can be influenced by a person's temporary conditions such as headaches, fatigue, or injury. Not to mention, exhausted individual may perceive stimuli differently compared to those who are well rested. In this particular scene, we can see how dehydration influenced Aaron's perception skills, as he does not hesitate to drink from the pool of dirty water that he found without being afraid that the water is contaminated. There's a YouTube channel called BenjoFed who claim they had met and talked to Aaron before. According to Benjo, Aaron described the water as the sweetest water he had drunk, as he had been dehydrated for days. To base this concept from my own experience, when I was 6 years old, a boy from the kindergarten that I went to used to bully me in a way that he would tease me and shove my body to the ground playfully. Because of this, I think of him negatively and perceive his action as an act of bullying. His action really affected me badly in a way that I could not stand his presence in the same room and felt a little threatened by him. For a long time, I did not respond to his doing until one day I did. This boy, he sat on my chair and I had asked him to move from my chair repeatedly. He refused to do so and continuously mocking me. What happened next was that I had this surge of fearlessness to confront him. So what I did was I picked this boy up from my chair and threw him to the ground. And that incident really shocked the both of us, since the boy was twice my size. So from my story, you can tell that how my emotional state affected my perception into doing the things that I do not normally do. I think it was due to the pent-up anger and irritation that I had for this boy that altered my perception into thinking that I could face him physically despite the differences in strength between us.
Hi, my name is NORFATINI AQILAH. So I will move on to chapter 6, which is interpersonal communication. The concepts that we are going to discuss in this chapter are on the stages in interpersonal relationships, motivations for initiating, maintaining, and terminating relationships. We chose the movie Joy 2015 to relate with the concepts. Okay, the stages in interpersonal relationships. First thing first, what is an interpersonal relationship? Interpersonal relationship is actually relationships that involve at least two persons or more who are interdependent, have a set of consistent interaction patterns, and have interacted for a long time. The word interaction here means communication, right? So communication is at the heart of how we create connection with others. The ordinary talk and apparently insignificant exchanges that form up the structure of our relationship help us attain the goal of connecting. According to Miller, as cited by Pearson, Nelson, Titsworth, and Harter, communication affects the growth of relationships, and the growth of relationships affects communicative behavior. Therefore, Knapp and Evangelisti identified 10 interaction stages of interpersonal relationships. However, today I will only be going to talk about one of the stages. The first 5 stages cover relational development, which is the process by which relationships grow. The first 5 stages under relational development are initiating, experimenting, intensifying, integrating, and lastly, bonding. I will go on about the second stage in Knapp's model, which is experimenting. This stage occurs when two individuals or more have made the conscious decision to learn more about each other, to stop exploring, and to grow serious about each other. A basic exchange of information is typical as the experimenting stage begins. These steps include disclosing personal information on a safe level, such as their interests on things like music, food, and etc. I will show you the movie scene that we found in Joy that relate to this stage, which is experimenting. From this particular scene, Joy went to a party where he met a man named Tony who played in a band. They fall in love and start to know each other more deeper by learning each other's interests and dreams, as you can see based on the conversations they were having. They were in love, so they spent time together doing things they like. Tony even get Joy to be involved in a musical where they perform together. So that is the example of interpersonal relationship at the stages of experimenting. Next, I would like to share my real life experience on the experimenting stage. Basically, when I was in Form 2, I moved to a new class and then I met a girl. Her name is Kaisa. At first, I was not close with her because Kaisa is actually a very shy person. So I am the one who approached her and initiate conversations with her to know more about her. And as time passed by, we eventually get closer as I changed my seat to sit next to her because we decided to be best friends. We would do everything together and I even sleep at her house sometimes. Surprisingly, we have a lot in common, and we both loves to watch K-dramas, we both loves to go to food hunting, and we both love the color purple. Up to this day, we are still best friends, and it has been 5 years. I guess that is all from me. I will pass to ELLYANA to continue about the next concept.
Let's move on to the motivations for initiating, maintaining, and terminating relationships in the Joy movie.
Show you my father's house. Yeah.
I'm gonna be a singer.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna be the next Tom Jones.
Well, that's a big ambition. There's only one Tom Jones.
I know, but you can't let the practical get you down. You gotta keep going to what you love.
So, based on the clip, the character Tony, Joy's ex-husband, initiated relationship with her for the first time at music class by his father by telling about himself and followed by his dream. While there are millions of people on the planet, we only have intimate relationship with a small percentage of them. And how do you decide who do you want as friends, lovers, or family members, and how do you attract them and maintain relationships with them, and how does communication play a role? First, according to my analysis of the Joy movie related to chapter 6 of this subject, which is interpersonal communication, people choose the people they find attractive, how pleasant a person is to work with, and how much social worth, how pleasant the person has for others. Individuals differ in their perception of the attractiveness and significance of various physical characteristics. Another element of attraction is that we establish relationship based on responsiveness, which is the belief that we tend to choose our friends and loved ones from those who show positive interest in us. Few qualities are more appealing than someone who actively listens to us, find our jokes entertaining, as Joy did with Tony. We hardly choose our friends from our lovers among people who despised us. As for my own experience, in this semester, I initiate relationship with my classmate to approach them in collaboration with me to be in a group assignment. I believe that the points stated earlier are beneficial to make friends.
Jackie. Oh my God. What's happening? I'm worried about you. I don't see you anymore. You don't come to the PTA?
Second, motivations for maintaining relationship. Why do you continue to relate to someone after you have come to know them and consider the buddies you had when you were in elementary or high school? Do you still keep up with any of those friendships? Let's look at some of the factors that inspire people to stay in a relationship. If you focus on the movie clips, Joy and her friend named Jackie started their relationship from childhood. Although they have not met for a long time, one day Jackie visits Joy to ask about her life and well-being, and so does Joy, who did ask about her friend's condition. This shows that they made an effort to maintain relationships with each other. Indeed, as relationships are maintained, friends are not only become more empathic but also begin to mirror each other's behavior. A pleasant relationship is required for a friend to flourish, and as a friend, a good friend would show a genuine interest in what's going on in your life, telling you how to think or feel, or trying to change the subject, listen attentively without judging you, like Joy's friend did. As per my personal experience, that was when I was always tried my best to maintain my relationship with high school fellows by asking to hang out as a gesture of me still being concerned about them.
Sure. disturbed man.
I'm disturbed.
He's a damaged man.
You're right, I am disturbed. You're the great disturbed.
Last but not least, motivations for terminating relationship. Although maintaining satisfying relationships is our objective, it is not always attainable, and relationships are short-lived. About half of all marriages end in divorce, and the failure rate is significantly higher in second and third marriage. And what causes interpersonal connections to break down, and what considerations motivate people to seek the end of relationship rather than the continuation of one? We'll take a look at a couple of them here. These factors can be seen during the clip when Joy's father, Rudy, who had divorced with her mother, Terry, yells at her by mocking after he came for a stay at Joy's house. This is the perfect recipe to terminate a relationship. And how? By stating hurtful messages, which means messages that create emotional pain or upset, can end a relationship. I experienced this by witnessing a couple fighting in public by cursing and nagging their kids. I believe that it is unnecessary to throw hurtful messages since it cannot solve the problem. Thus, we must practice healthy communication with each other.